Isn't it about time for somebody's favorite radio program?
This is America's Outdoor Talk program.
Are you ready to get rowdy?
Outdoors This Week with your host, Alex Langer. Alex Langer. We've got fishing.
Believe me, folks, I have been there, and the fishing has been tremendous.
Hiking.
Adios. Have a nice trip.
Camping.
This is a real adventure.
How do you know?
When you're an experienced woodsman like me, you get a feel for these things.
Oh, really?
Heck, we've even got kayaking.
I'm going to show you kids the time of your life.
We've got all the info you need for a safe and fun day in the sun.
It's a darn good thing we found you when we did. There's something horrible roaming these woods.
And you've got Outdoors This Week. Outdoors This Week. And now, here's your host, Alex Langer.
Thanks for that wonderful introduction, Mr. Announcer. Did we pay him this week, Lynn?
Yeah, that's why he showed up and did it again.
That's great. As long as he keeps coming back.
If you don't pay, he's not going to come
back.
back.
If we don't pay, he doesn't come. But at least we pay him, and he comes back, and everything's okay for another week. We have somebody with us today who stopped getting paid a long time ago. He left a secure job with corporate America to pursue his dream to travel around the world and to understand the world that we share with about 4 billion other people. Or is it 4 billion? I think it's like 4.5 billion.
Yeah.
Dean Jacobs is one of those 4.5 billion people. In the last 4 years, he explored over 50 countries, and he explored the goodness of humanity and the magnificence of the natural beauty of the different places in the world. Dean brings his experiences to children everywhere through school presentations that focus on the goodness of humanity and the awe of nature. And Dean offers the opportunity to see these qualities in others, themselves, and leaves them with many choices and decisions on how to make the world a better place to live. That's a great guy.
He is a great guy.
So interesting, too.
Yes.
I'm going to ask him all the things that I always wanted to ask him in the past, but never, frankly, had the guts to ask him. But today I'm going to cut loose and ask him all those difficult questions. So, folks, you want to be tuned for that. And we also have all of our usual suspects. We've got Ron Linder, who's going to report from the ICAST show. He's going to be talking about all the new things that are available for the angler that are being exhibited at the world's largest trade show for fishing in Las Vegas this week. And then we have Larry Whiteley from Bass Pro Shops, who brings us one of his riveting reports. And by the way, Larry is the grandfather and happily married. So,
I know.
Darn him. If Larry's not enough, we also have Sammy Lee. Sammy is like 6'7". I mean, he's literally like 6 foot.
He is so tall.
6'7", and then we have another guy who will be fit for a cage match with anybody.
Oh yes.
And that is of course none other than good old what's his name?
Wade Bourne.
Wade Bourne. Thank you, Lynn. That's why I have you around.
Yeah.
All right, folks, we'll be right back. Don't go away.
Hang tight. More of America's Outdoor Talk program, Outdoors This Week, after this.
Hi, folks. Ron Linder here for Linder's Angling Edge Television. Well, we're through the first half of the year. That's the first and second quarter in TV lingo. But we're still playing here and there in a few places. You'd have to go to our website, lindermedia.com, to find out where we're playing currently. I think we're playing on WFN and a few other places. We might be on the Pursuit channel for all I know. Anyway, go look us up, and we're on a number of broadcast channels, but we're through with the first and second quarter. What am I going to do today? One of the favorite of all little editorial blocks we do, nature fakers and nutcases. We have a report. And it comes close. It's out of New Hampshire this time, Concord, New Hampshire. And I'm going to got a little side story here that's really going to kind of get interesting. What they did is the legislature, through some kind of sneaky bill, banned the use of like lead sinkers, lead heads, sinkers, little small stuff. This was brought about by, now get this, and believe me, this is no joke, because it is, now get this, the loon zealots. They call themselves that. It was pushed together. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. But they found some real nutcases in the legislature, guys that they paid off, and some slimy lawyers. This is the way this works. Always works. There is no indication, no proof, zero that is any problem with loons. We've got loons all over. I've been on the water for 50, 60 years. I have never seen, get this, I have never yet seen a dead loon floating. Now, I've seen one against the shore someplace. I don't know how he died. It could have died of 5 or 6 different ways. But believe me, lead ingestion is extremely low. They testified in the New Hampshire bill over there that they found 3 birds a year. And it might have been caused by them eating the lure with the hook and not the lead. But that's something else. The Loon Preservation Committee, the New Hampshire Loon Preservation Committee, that's probably preserving their crummy lawyer and the president that's sneaking money out for the organization. That's the other place. That's the nature fakers. They love it. Now, I was approached right here in Minnesota. We had a college. We got a college here. When the Minnesota State College came to Brainerd, they brought a few of these people with them. They seem to be more in academia than any other place. And they came to us because we fish everything, and they wanted to know how many loons we saw dead. And we said we never saw any. Then they went to the guides over here. And there's a big guiding group down here. They call them this one. Guys, they're famous. Famous throughout all Minnesota. There's numbers of them. They checked with them. Number of dead loons, 0. They checked with the DNR. The DNR says so few dead that they couldn't even make a estimation. Yet, it never stopped them from putting in a bill, fighting the bill, putting in money, so Slimy the lawyer would get some money and that they could draw. By the way, they give plush loon dolls out. That's the real secret. You get your plush loon doll. So the New Hampshire State Legislature passed a bill, no more sinkers, no more lead sinkers. Now you can use titanium. By the way, it's about 10 times the price. Maybe more, but that's neither here nor there. But with absolutely no price, because the Loon Preservation Committee feels, they don't think, they feel that it might not be good for a loon. No proof, nobody ever. The DNRs, the New Hampshire Fish and Game Commission, opposed the legislation. The American Sport Fishing Association opposed the legislation. The Congressional Sports Fishing Foundation opposed the legislation. Bassmaster opposed the legislation. The New Hampshire Fishing Nation opposed the legislation. Plus, it went on and on and on. The proposed legislation is unsupported in the face of facts that loon mortality caused by lead ingestion is not only extremely rare, but almost non-existent. Guess what it did for the New Hampshire Loon Preservation Committee? Meant nothing. Doesn't mean nothing, because these are the nutcases. See, that's the group, and then you got the nature fakers that are rolling in the money. Once again, and you see it happen over and over. It's happening with greater frequency. I'm seeing it every day. Law, intelligence, science means absolutely nothing. It's how do you feel. Well, that's it for my latest report. Up in New Hampshire, I hope they have a good time. See you later, folks.
Special prizes coming up on Bass Pro Shops Outdoor World.
Would you like to spend less time on the couch and more time in the fresh air? Would you like your kids to stare at a bobber instead of the TV? Would you gladly trade in your microwave for a Dutch oven? Then you belong at Bass Pro Shops. Every week, we offer free skills workshops to help you get started. See the store or go to BassPro.com for more information. Bass Pro Shops. Your adventure starts here.
Crappie can sometimes be caught on moving baits, but what they really like is food that's not doing anything at all, just hanging there in one place and not moving. This takes patience and practice. Minnows and small jigs work great and use a thin, sensitive bobber to detect delicate strikes. Small crappies are good practice, but if you want to catch slabs, get away from the little guys because the big ones aren't likely to be among them. Most crappie anglers think they'll find big slabs in deep water, but more often than not, you'll find them in shallow water. Crappie are special prizes because they're abundant all over America pretty much throughout the year and always ready for a tussle. It doesn't hurt that when rolled in cornmeal and deep fried, Crappies are also delicious. There's lots of great ways to fix crappie, but this old Missouri boy is pretty hard to beat rolling them in cornmeal, deep frying, and serving with fried potatoes, onions, and cornbread. I'm Larry Whiteley, and this is Bass Pro Shops Outdoor World.
Thanks, Larry. Stop that. You're making me very, very hungry, Larry. And those are all things I can't really eat right now because I'm trying to lose weight.
I know you're being so good.
I know I'm being very good. I'm not even sure I should drink this coffee that you bring me.
And you're looking good. No, you can drink it. You're looking really good.
Well, thanks, Lynn.
You're welcome.
You're not so bad yourself.
Thank you.
Listen. Speaking of Larry Whiteley, my next guest has done something that we all wish we could do. And that is kind of step up the deep end of the diving board and take the plunge. Dean Jacobs, a native of Nebraska, left a secure job with corporate America to pursue a dream, to travel around the world and to understand the world we share. Dean has spent 4 years of exploring 50 countries around the globe. That's exposed Dean to the goodness of people around the world and the magnificent natural beauty. You know, the magnificent natural beauty is you can find it anywhere, Lynn. You can even find it here in Framingham.
Yeah, even in Framingham.
The nice thing about Dean is he brings his experiences to children everywhere through school presentations, the focus on the goodness of humanity and the awe of nature. And he also comes to shows like this and spills his guts. Dean, are you there?
Yes, I am, Alex. Good morning to you guys.
Thanks, Dean. Welcome in. Are you ready to spill your guts?
Well, I always love spending time with you guys, and thank you for having me on and giving me a chance to share some of the amazing things that I've experienced along the way that give us a sense of hope about the world rather than being depressed about the world. Most of the time, the only stuff that ever makes the news is the bad stuff, right?
Right.
Exactly.
And
I think that messes our reality up a little bit.
Right.
The world is,
all the stuff that won't matter. If you give it the 5-year test, most of the stuff that's on the news won't matter 5 years from now. Politics, business, whatever. It won't matter. You kind of focus on the internal things.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I go looking for what's right in the world. If you want to build your case that the world is not great, you can find it. But if you want to build the case that the world's filled with wonderful experiences, amazing people, and beautiful nature, you can find that too. But you got to use your own eyes, your own ears, and your own heart.
Let me ask you a question. What drove you to step off the deep end of the diving board?
Well, that's a great question, and I get that question quite a bit. I spent quite a bit of time doing some soul searching and asking myself, how much stuff do you really need in order to be happy? When I got serious about answering that question, the next thing that came to my heart was, what do you dream about? Because I worked in the corporate world. I was very successful. I was on the rising star path. They wanted me to, the corporate office was one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world. And they wanted me to come to New York City for a corner office. And I went back there, and I go, that's fine, but this is not what I was made for. And our job is to figure out exactly what our dreams are. No one can tell you what your dream is. That's our work to do here.
Nobody can dictate what your dream is, And
when you stay true to yourself, and the way you're staying true to yourself is you got joy in your heart and you're making a positive contribution to the world, then you're on the right path. And they could either put on my gravestone, here lies Dean Jacobs. He helped improve corporate profits by 0.00001%, or here lies Dean Jacobs. This guy had a dream and was willing to do everything he could to make it come true.
Right.
So that's how we got to this point. And I quit my job and sold my house, and I never turned back. And the first trip lasted for 2 years, going around the world living on $10 to $15 a day.
What was the first country you ever visited?
On that journey, the first place I landed was the Cook Islands. And that's only because when I was putting my ticket together, they said Air New Zealand will let you have a layover in the Cook Islands for $25. I thought, score.
Why not?
Exactly. Often you get to go to the Cook Islands for $25. So I left the United States from the West Coast until I came home from the East Coast 2 years later, 28 countries later.
Wow.
Went to base camp at Mount Everest, the outback of Australia, backpacked across the Middle East, went from the top of Africa all the way to the bottom, and then up to Europe for a little bit, and then home.
We're going to ask you all about the countries that you visited, and I'm going to ask you what your favorite country was. But first, we got to take this break for our affiliates. And folks, stay with us. We'll be right back after this with world adventurer and explorer and guy that stepped off the corporate ladder, Dean Jacobs. Come back.
Sunrise in the desert and the waking that it brings as the last stars of the big sky melt away. In the clearness, in the blueness, and the sweet and naked breeze, these things count as church for me.
Wow! Woo! Hold on to that, and that's a good one since 1980. Tight Lines with Sammy Lee.
They are, without a doubt, the most successful hunting and fishing outfitter in the world, and with good reason. Hello, this is Sammy Lee. In just a moment, Sean Finley of the High Adventure Company will continue telling us why you should plan your next trophy quest with them. But first, this message.
Your best tool for catching big fish isn't even in your tackle box. It's FishMate Pro, the app that loads your smartphone up with everything you need to catch the big ones. You get the best feeding times in the moon phase, plus all your current weather conditions, including barometric pressure and color weather radar. And when you catch your trophy, take a picture on the phone, and FishMate Pro interfaces with Facebook and Twitter. Plus, you get recipes, fishing news, and podcasts updated every weekday right in the palm of your hand. Bring more fun to your fishing with the FishMate Pro app. Find out all you need to know at fishmateapp.com.
While spending a few days at Cheyenne Ridge outside of Pierce, South Dakota a few weeks ago, I came to better understand why the High Adventure Company is the world's foremost outfitter when it comes to trophy game and fish. These folks know how to do it right. So while talking with Sean Finley, one of the owners of High Adventure, I asked, what makes you guys so much better than other outfitters?
Just like here, we're at Cheyenne Ridge Signature Lodge today here in South Dakota, the pheasant hunting capital of the world. We own Tipaluque Lodge down in Patagonia in southern Argentina, the fly fishing, destination of a lifetime for most fly fishermen for trout, the premier red stag hunting destination on planet Earth. In Africa, we're in all of the best spots in Africa, and in South Africa, and in Botswana, in Namibia, and all of those locations. We're just exactly where you need to be to get what you're after. We live in a world of success and success rate, and people don't have a lot of time anymore, and they want to have a high success rate for what they're paying for. I think we provide them with that.
And folks, I'll certainly second that motion. When Sean Finley and I get together next time, we'll talk more about the High Adventure resorts located here in America that you can attend. And trust me, folks, you will want to. In the meantime, check out their website, highadventurecompany.com, to see exactly why I'm so high on these folks. The hunting and fishing trip of a lifetime is right in your back door. I'm Sammy Lee, and until next time, Tight Lines.
Tight Lines, brought to you by FishMate, the ultimate fishing app for your smartphone. By UFP, America's leading maker of brake systems for boat trailers. By Smart Baits, color changes everything. And by Cheyenne Ridge Signature Lodge. Discover why our lodge earned 2 Beretta Tridents.
Thanks, Sammy Lee. And today's show seems to be about adventure. Lynn didn't even plan that, Sammy Lee, thought about the adventure. But, today our guest is Dean Jacobs, and Dean kind of dropped out of corporate life to become an adventurer. And he's our guest today. And, we usually do things about fishing and hunting, but the one thing both of those things have in common is the quest for adventure and actually getting out and doing it. In terms of getting out and doing it, nobody has symbolized that better than my guest, Dean Jacobs. Dean used to be a high corporate muckety-muck executive, if I may use that expression. He chose to throw it all away and go on an extended vacation to live on a few dollars a day. Dean, first of all, I'm sorry for calling you a corporate muckety-muck, but since you're not one, then I guess it doesn't matter, right?
No harm, no foul, Alex.
All right.
No harm, no foul. By the way, I want to tell you, I'm getting ready to go down the Mississippi River for 2 months, and
Really?
I will be doing fishing. And I'm going from Lake Itasca all the way to New Orleans, and I'm bringing my fishing pole with me. So when we're done with that little adventure, we'll come back on and spend a little time with you guys and share you about that journey. Does that sound good?
You're like a modern-day Huck Finn or Tom Sawyer. I'm not sure which you are, but I'd like to think you're a Huck Finn.
Okay, good. I'll take that.
All right, the Mississippi River is in this country, but this may be an unfair question to ask, but what was your all-time favorite country or climate?
Well, that's a great question, Alex. I've gone through 52 countries, and the number continues to expand because I'm not going to be done for a long time if I have any say in it anyway. Every place is amazing. Every place has a beautiful nature to see, to experience, beautiful people to encounter, interesting foods and things like that. Now, there are 5 that come to the top of my list. Indonesia, Nepal, India, Ethiopia, Sudan. And those are not places.
I probably wouldn't have picked any of them.
I know that, it's because we don't know much about those places. For example, in Sudan, because I'm always on public transport, Alex. Many times I get ready to pay for my bus when I was going through Sudan, and someone taps me on the shoulder, and he goes, "I already paid for you." I go, "Oh, wow, thank you. Why?" And they would look me in the eye, and they'd give me a big smile and say, "Well, you're a guest in our country. It's our responsibility to watch over you while you're here."
Sudan is like the last country I would think you would have picked.
Yeah, well, that's because all we ever know about Sudan is the sound bites we see here in the news. And I'm not saying bad things don't stop, and I'm not talking about being in denial. What I'm talking about is there's so many good things that go on in the world that we never find out that it really does skew our reality up. And by the way, Sudan has more pyramids than Egypt does. Egyptian pyramids.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, isn't that cool? I mean, it's all kinds of...
And they've got nicer people, too. How about that? Other than Sudan, where were the nicest people that you met?
Oh, boy. Ethiopians are super nice. I met New Zealanders have to rank towards the top of the list. Yeah, I talked to someone who spent 7 years bicycling around the world. They said the nicest people because that's really put you at the mercy of the world. Their list was South Africa, Iran, New Zealand, and the United States.
Iran?
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, now their government, that's a whole other conversation,
right.
And the regime of things. But the ordinary people that you encounter, Mr. Rogers, when you're walking down the street,
right.
people you meet kind of thing, are extraordinarily nice and polite and respectful and giving.
Now, are you ever going to go to Iran?
I will I will. I mean, it's on my wish list. It's on my bucket list, per se. But I'll get there at some point.
Can you even go there legally as an American or no?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
You can go there legally. It's just a real hassle at this point to get the visa there. The only place legally as an American that I'm not supposed to go to is Cuba.
Right. Right. Ironically, that's like 90 miles from Florida. so
exactly.
Now, in a world of accumulating stuff, you believe in living with gratitude. Tell us what that's all about.
Well, you can have lots of stuff, and gratitude. You can have gratitude for your stuff even. But when stuff becomes the center of whether you're happy or not, that you're setting yourself up for a disappointment. Because the greatest joy, the deepest happiness that I've ever experienced is the encounters I've had with people along the way. A lot of times I go up to schools, I knock on the door and tell them I can teach them English for the day, especially rural schools, and they love it out in the rest of the world. And I teach them the hokey pokey, and there's lots of laughter and joy and interaction.
Tell me how you teach them the hokey pokey.
Well, you just walk up, you knock on the door and say, I'm a teacher. Would you like to use me? Because I have an ESL certificate. I've been trained to teach English as a second language.
Okay.
And yeah, they say, come in, but we'd love to have you come in. Or I set it up to come the next day kind of thing. And so I go in there and I go in the classroom. It's usually a one-room classroom in rural settings kind of thing. And I teach them, I have a kid come up to the chalkboard, put their hand in. I draw chalk around their hand. And I go right hand and left hand, and then I put it all together, and then we go out, eventually we get in a big circle, and then, I lead the way, and they repeat after me. Besides, Alex, isn't that what last verse of the hokey pokey? Put your whole self in, put your whole self out, put your whole self in, and what? Shake it all about. That's how life works. When you put your whole self in and you shake it all about, that's when dreams start to come true. Life is never meant to be a spectator sport.
I never thought the hokey pokey had lessons for life. But I guess it does. I guess it's all your attitude. You find lessons for life anywhere you go. We got to take another break right now. Would you come back for a last and final segment?
You betcha.
All right, great. Folks, hang on. We have world adventurer and explorer and free spirit Dean Jacobs with us today. Don't go away. We'll be back for another segment.
It seems like an idyllic life traveling around the country, fishing in tournaments on the best lakes for big cash prizes. A lot of anglers dream about being a touring bass pro. Longtime pro Denny Brower says there are a lot of things to like about this lifestyle, but also a lot of drawbacks. I'm Wade Bourne, and this is Wired to Fish Radio. Today, Denny talks about the hardest part of being a full-time professional angler.
More Wired to Fish Radio coming up.
Imagine yourself thrown into the water. Maybe your boat hit a log. Maybe you just lost your balance on a slippery deck. What about your boat? Is it safely stopped, or is it circling, motor running, bearing down on you with the propeller turning at high speed? Accidents like this occur every year. That's why the U.S. Coast Guard recommends that all boaters install an engine cutoff switch that stops the motor automatically if the operator falls out of the boat. I'm Wade Bourne, reminding you to boat responsibly.
For more information, visit uscgboating.org.
Cabela's is the world's foremost outfitter for hunting, fishing, camping, and outdoor gear. They offer more gear than anybody, best selection, prices, and quality, all backed by Cabela's legendary guarantee. Shopping with Cabela's has never been easier or more convenient. You can outfit all your needs through Cabela's catalogs, website, and their many stores. Check them out at Cabela's.com. Cabela's, the world's foremost outfitter.
This is Wired to Fish Radio.
For 33 years, Denny Brower followed the National Bass Tourney circuit, but he retired last year. He says he misses the camaraderie and the competition of tournament fishing, but he doesn't miss being on the road so much, being gone from his family and from important events in their lives. Here's Denny talking about the worst part of being a bass pro.
The worst part, obviously, is the traveling, without a doubt. It's a grind. Bass fishing is a tough way to make a living. I mean, that's just telling it how it is. It's very expensive with entry fees, with traveling expenses, the time that you spend out there on the road. You're giving things up. In my case, when I got involved in the sport, my son was, in school yet. There were 6 events a year that I would be gone. That's 6 weeks a year that I'm just on the road. I was lucky that he was a very good student. I could take him out of school for 2 of those events. So there was only, a month of the year that I really wasn't around to see his activities. But every activity I missed, I felt guilty. And I think all the anglers are probably, feeling a little remorse that they don't get to spend more time with their families, with their kids, with those activities.
That's Denny Brower talking about the downside of being a full-time touring bass pro. And that's also today's Wired to Fish Radio. I'm Wade Bourne saying thanks for listening and get outside.
Thanks a lot, Wade. And we have with us Dean Jacobs. Dean is a native of Nebraska and who left a secure job with corporate America to pursue a dream to travel around the whole wide world. And you know what he did? That's exactly what he did. He comes from Nebraska. He's spent the last 4 years exploring over 50 countries, and he brings his experiences to children everywhere through school presentations that focus on the goodness of humanity and the awe of nature. One of Bruce Springsteen's more depressing albums was entitled Nebraska. And ironically, Denny Brower, the guy that was just interviewed by Wade Bourne, is also from Nebraska, and I was in Nebraska once, and you grew up in Nebraska. Do you still live in Nebraska?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm
Really?
still here. We all have to, I have to have a base or a home, and this what brings me back to here. On top of that, my mom is 84, so when I'm here, I help with my brother Dale.
Yeah.
We're part-time caregivers and take care of our mom. She's at this stage of the life where she needs a little extra care, and we're happy to do that.
I have an aged mom myself, and she's in Boston, and that's where I stay. Can you find the beauty in Nebraska? I mean, obviously Bruce Springsteen couldn't find it. And then Nebraska was a metaphor for bleakness and despair. What is beautiful in Nebraska?
beautiful. There's beauty everywhere. It's all a matter of what you're looking for. I mean, one of the things I do, Alex, is I'm a professional photographer, and I take my camera everywhere I go.
Yep.
And I'm constantly putting photos on my Facebook page or on my website where people can see the beauty that I discover. And they're always amazed at what I find. Even here in Nebraska, we got waterfalls, we got pine ridges out in the west, but beauty is definitely in the eye of the beholder. And it goes back to what I said. You can always find evidence for whatever you're looking for evidence for. And there is beauty. We have beautiful sunrises and beautiful sunsets. There's tiny, beautiful things. I mean, I think it's beautiful to see a cornfield that goes forever. I guess some of that's in the eye of the beholder in that regard, too.
I think we're going to have to drop Bruce Springsteen a line and say, hey, Bruce, you got it wrong with your album, Nebraska.
Well, I don't think Bruce is really going to mind.
That's right. It was a black and white cover. That's all I remember about that.
I remember that. Yes, I remember. That's from my era, too. So.
All right. We're both guys probably in our early to mid-50s. What would you say to other people of that same age category?
Well, it's never too late to stay true to what you're made for. I've interviewed rebel generals in the Congo. I worked for Diane Fossey, photographing mountain gorillas for 7.5 months in Rwanda.
Really?
Yeah. I backpacked across the Middle East, which included Syria. I've done some pretty extraordinary and whitewater raft the Nile River. Just a year ago, I went down the Amazon for 6 months, went swimming with piranhas and all that kind of stuff, which is, and we could talk for days. But the bravest thing I've ever done, Alex, was the day that I called the company and said I'm leaving.
Right.
Because everything I knew my life to be just went spinning off without me. And then and that was pretty scary. I was left with a blank canvas, and that blank canvas became my life, and I got to become the artist of my life. And there's a certain type of fulfillment that can only happen when you are putting the paint on that canvas and not someone else's idea of what those paints should be.
I think that's what's simultaneously scary and irresistible about your story. You did what nobody else dares to do, which is basically throw their life away and go do what you really want.
Yeah. Well, I didn't really throw my life away. I changed my life for something that gave me a deeper sense of purpose and a deeper joy.
My choice of words probably betrays my understanding.
So, I thought it's a great point, because I'm telling you, I would be dishonest with you if I didn't say it was quite a struggle and scary to do. I mean, it was very significant. I remember the feeling of it it was almost, I don't know how to describe it, but it was very intense.
It's like telling your mom you're going to L.A. to become a comedian.
Yes, exactly.
Why would you want to do that, stupid boy?
That's exactly right.
Give us your Facebook site, please.
Oh, my Facebook is Explore with Dean. And, if the people love it, give me a thumbs up. My website is deanjacobs.org, www.deanjacobs.org. And I got a couple books, and a great book of animals for kids that I have photographed from all over the world. It just won a national award here a couple of weeks ago.
Really? Why don't you shoot it over to us, and we'll put it on our website as well.
Sure, I'll do that.
Unfortunately, we're out of time. I could talk to you forever, and we're just going to have you back again and do that. But for the time being, we're going to have to end this show. And folks,
you bet.
Folks, we'll be back next time with Outdoors This Week, but without Dean Jacobs and with somebody else. Not half as interesting.
Alex Langer, Outdoors This Week.